What's up, YouTube world? This is Steven again. It is currently 2:55 p.m. on March 10th of 2020, and I would like to welcome you all to my March Madness bracket tips video. I have 20 tips. That's right, 20 tips that I'm going to give you all in order for you to fill out the best March Madness bracket or NCAA tournament bracket that you can possibly fill out. These tips should help you, and since there's 20 of them, without further ado, we're not going to waste any more time. Let's just get straight into these, and I'm going to let you know what these tips are. Here we go. Tip number 1, location, location, location. So basically, there's going to be locations of each game. And the main ones that you want to worry about for location are the rounds of 64 and 32. These are mainly when you're picking upsets or picking from the 8 versus 9 seed matchups, because a lot of the locations can really matter if one team is a lot closer to the location that the game is being played at than another. This is how I picked number 13 UC Irvine to beat number 4 Kansas State last year, because the game was being played in San Jose, and Irvine is located in California, and Kansas State is located somewhere in Kansas. So Kansas had to do a lot of traveling, and UC Irvine only had to do a little bit of traveling. So that's how I picked that game, and I got that game correct, so I'm glad about that. Okay, tip number 2, don't focus too much on the first round, simply because first round games are only worth 1 point each, whereas your national champion, if you get that correct, is worth 32 points. So don't worry too much about the first round, just because the amount of points progress the further you get into the bracket. They double as the rounds go on. So the round of 32, the games are worth 2 points, Sweet 16 games are worth 4 points, and so on. Okay, tip number 3, pick every single 1, 2, and 3 seed to advance to the round of 32. This is because not a lot of upsets happen with these seeds. Only one upset happened to a 1 seed in 2018 when UMBC beat UVA out of 140 of those games. So less than 1% of 16 seeds upset 1 seeds. I think only 7 or 8% of 15 seeds have upset 2 seeds, and about 14 or 15% of 14 seeds have upset 3 seeds. So advance every single 1, 2, and 3 seed to the next round, just because not a lot of those upsets happen in general. Tip number 4, pick at least one 13 seed to be a 4 seed. 13 seeds have upset 4 seeds about 20% of the time. This is almost a quarter, so based on this, you would want to pick at least one 13 seed to upset a 4 seed. Back in 2018, 2 13 seeds beat 4 seeds. Number 13 Marshall beat number 4 Wichita State, or as I call them, Bitchita State, because I really don't like them. And number 13 Buffalo beat number 4 Arizona, and number 4 Arizona was actually a favorite to go to the Final Four in their region. So I know that really busted a lot of people's brackets when Buffalo beat Arizona. Tip number 5, pick at the very, very lowest 12 seed to beat a 5 seed. You might even want to pick 2, and if you're feeling very lucky and very confident, you might even want to pick 3. Do not pick all 4, because this has never happened, but do not pick none, because that has only happened either 3 or 4 times ever since the field expanded to 64 teams in 1985. So do pick at the very, very lowest 12 seed to beat a 5 seed, but you might want to go with 2. Tip number 6, pick 2 11 seeds to beat 6 seeds. This is also an upset that is very, very overlooked, and a lot of people tend to get these games wrong. So do pick at least 2 11 seeds to beat 6 seeds. You might even want to go with more, but what I do is I would make sure my 12 and 11 seeded upsets add up to 4. At the very least. So you can do a combination of these. Pick 3 11 seeds and 1 12 seed, or 2 12 seeds, 2 11 seeds. Just make sure it adds up to at least 4, and I think you should be fine. Tip number 7, pick every single number 1 seed to advance to the Sweet 16. The reason being is because a lot of 1 seeds don't really start falling out of the tournament until the Sweet 16, so make sure to advance every single 1 seed to the Sweet 16, even if they do come from a mid-major conference. Tip number 8, pick 1 7 or 10 seed to beat a 2 seed in the round of 32. The reason being is because this is also another very, very overlooked upset that happens in the round of 32. minus last year when every single 2 seed advanced to the Sweet 16. Back in 2015, number 7 Michigan State beat number 2 UVA, and back in 2018, 7 seeds beat 2 seeds. Number 7 seeded Nevada beat number 2 seeded Cincinnati, and number 7 Texas A&M beat number 2 UNC. So make sure, if you really want to pick an upset, pick a 7 seed or a 10 seed to beat a 2 seed in the round 32. But make sure you choose this one wisely, and make sure you do some research as well. Tip number 9, pick a double-digit seed to advance to the Sweet 16, possibly even 2 double-digit seeds to advance to the Sweet 16. These are called your Cinderella, if you haven't heard of them. And this could be, a first 4 team, this could be a 12 seed, this could be an 11 seed, this could be a 10 seed, but make sure you advance at least 1 double-digit seed to the Sweet 16, because at least 1 makes it almost every year. Tip number 10, pick a first 4 team to advance to the round of 32. The first 4's inception was back in 2011, and you would want to have at least 1 first 4 seed to make it to the round of 32, because minus last year, at least 1 first 4 team has made it to the round of 32. And during its inception in 2011, number 11 VCU made it all the way from the first 4 to the final 4. And multiple have made it to the Sweet 16. So make sure you send at least 1 first 4 team that is not a 16 seed to at least the round of 32. Tip number 11, do not go crazy with your upsets. Me talking about upsets, I also wanted to bring up this tip to not go crazy with them. Don't pick 3 15 seeds. Don't pick a 16 seed. Don't pick every single number 14 seed. Stay smart with your upsets. Pick 1 13, maybe 1 or 2 12s, and 1 or 2 11 seeds, maybe 2 10 seeds. But don't go crazy and pick 2 16 or all the 15 seeds or something like that. Just don't go crazy with them. Stick to what I said and you should be fine. Tip number 12, stick to the Blue Bloods. The reason being is because 9 out of the last 10 national champions have the color blue as one of their team colors. UConn won the national championship in 2011 and 2014. Duke won the national championship in 2010 and 2015. Kentucky won in 2012. Villanova won in 2016 and 2018. UNC won in 2017. And UVA won it last year. The only one outlier is Louisville in 2013, and they do not have the color blue. So if you really want to pick a national champion, stick with the higher seeds, stick with the power conferences, and stick with the Blue Bloods. Tip number 13, do not pick every single number 1 seed to make it to the Final 4. This is because this has only happened once ever since 1985, and that one year was 2008, when every single number 1 seed made it to the Final 4. Do not pick every single 1 seed to make it to the Final 4. I would stick with 2, maybe 3. 1 is just way too little, and 4 is just crazy. So stick with maybe 2 or 3 1 seeds to advance to the Final 4, and you should be fine. Tip number 14, do not pick a team lower than a 3 seed to win the national championship. This is because no teams that were seeded lower than a 3 seed have won the national championship more than once. 1 seeds, 2 seeds, and 3 seeds have all won the national championship multiple times. If I were you, I would pick a 1 seed though, because they have the very, very vast majority of national championships out of the 1s, 2s, and 3 seeds, or any seed in general. And no team seeded lower than 8 has won the national championship ever. So definitely do not pick anyone seeded lower than 8 to win the national championship. Tip number 15, the 8 seed versus 9 seed matchups are just a flip of the coin. Honestly, me personally, I picked 2 8s and 2 9s just to, even it out. Because basically the win percentage for them is pretty much even. I think 9s have a slight advantage ever since last year because every single 9 seed won last year. But if I were you, I would do research, and I would also go back to my very first tip on location, because this would definitely matter if they were this evenly matched. Location would definitely matter, and I would also do research to see who's in the better conference and who has been the better team as of lately. Tip number 16, Cinderella usually dies in the Sweet 16. This is because you really want to focus more on the powerhouse teams from the powerhouse conferences and leave the teams from the mid-major conferences that have made a magical run left behind, because they usually don't advance past the Sweet 16. Tip number 17, focus on the conference tournaments before the big dance. This is because you really want to see, like I mentioned in my 15th tip, you really want to see who has been playing extremely well as of lately. I would say Providence, UCLA, and UVA are 3 prime examples of teams that have been doing extremely well lately in their conferences and based on games in general. You want to send the teams that have been doing very well as of lately pretty far. So take a look at teams who have had big win streaks, teams that have won their conference championship, and teams that have been going on a big run, and teams that are possibly dark horses to advance far in this year's national championship. Tip number 18, focus on teams that have been playing. I think I said tip number 18 already. Focus on teams that have been playing really well as of lately, and that goes back to tip number 17. Like I said, UVA, UCLA, and Providence are 3 examples. So yeah, just focus on those teams. And focus on teams in general that have been doing very well. Do some research, and you should be fine with tip number 18. Tip number 19, do not pick a mid-major that is a 1 seed to win the national championship. I'm not sure if any mid-major team has won a national championship. Mid-majors that are going to be really high up in this tournament are Dayton and San Diego State. I would not pick them going to win the national championship. Maybe a Final Four run, but don't pick a mid-major to win the national championship. Stick with the Power 5s and Power 6s, and just don't go with a mid-major to win the national championship, because they could really bust your bracket if you do pick it wrong. And speaking of picking games wrong, tip number 20, do not stress out if you do not have a perfect bracket. Guys, this is the national championship tournament, the March Madness NCAA tournament. I can guarantee you that you will get at least 1 game incorrect. You're going to be wrong. There are so many games played out in this tournament. And brace yourselves for the number that I'm about to give you. The odds of having a perfect, flawless, not getting a single game wrong bracket in the NCAA tournament is 1 in 9.2 quintillion. Yeah, that's a lot. So don't expect to have a flawlessly perfect bracket. But those are my 20 tips on how to fill out the best March Madness bracket possible. A couple other tips that I want to give you. I would be very, very wary of picking the overall number 1 seed, the team that is located in the top left of the bracket, as the national champion, because no overall number 1 seed has won the national championship game since 2013 when Louisville won it. And the last tip that I want to give you is don't wait until the last minute to fill out your bracket. Make sure you do your research and make sure you have plenty of time to fill it out. Don't wait until the last 15, 20, or 30 minutes to fill out your bracket, because that's just careless to me. That's just careless. But those are all the tips that I have. Hit me up in the comment section below and let me know what you thought about my tips and what some of your tips are to filling out a March Madness bracket. But those are my 20 tips to filling out the best March Madness bracket. I wish you all the best of luck after all 64 of these teams have been introduced into this bracket on Selection Sunday. That's going to be at 6 p.m. on CBS. And I look forward to filling out my bracket, and I hope these tips helped you all. And yeah, good luck with all of this. So if you liked what you saw in this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and comment below. And I will see you guys next time with another video. This is Steven signing out.